Well, welcome back. How many times can I say that I'm excited? I don't know. I guess as many times as I am, right? Okay, you guys are the coolest. Like you're the best. You're like we're going through all of the words in terms of being able to explain how appreciative I am of the most incredible audience that you are. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you landed on our channel today and you were just intuitively drawn to this episode, there's definitely going to be reasons why that happened. But I want you to just hit that little button and subscribe because we've got the most incredible guests that tell the most impeccable stories. Okay, this is about mission accepted. This is about accepting the mission. And look, we all take one. Whatever we do in life, we take the mission, right? And we really focus here about those entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs. If you don't know what an entrepreneur is by now, it's a crazy entrepreneur. It's an entrepreneur that can't stop. It's like, whoa, stop it. But we can't. We just are built that way. Anyways, it's the plethora of platforms that people are creating these days, multiple streams of income, that kind of good stuff. And then, of course, our amazing creatives and people that are in self-funded media, like podcast hosts. Okay, we have an amazing woman today. So first of all, we met through authorship, and you know that the world of publishing and authorship has just gone to a whole new level. So I met this woman there. So she is a #1 international best-selling author. She also does numerology, and you know what? I've spent 30 years in the holistic business, and I've known people to do numerology. I've had numerology, and when she said that she does it differently, I actually got to taste that, and it absolutely was very different. It was very, how can I say it? It was like a combination of a holistic counseling session with intuitive, and yet she was reading what the cards and the numbers said to read. So it was really beautiful how she put that together. So we met through authorship, then we met on social, then we met on person. That's how it goes. And then here we are spending some time together. So I know she's a busy lady who's been in lots of media. So Cindy, thank you so much for coming onto the show.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to be here. I'm so excited for our conversation today. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So look, here it is. We talk about the mission, and I know that you've had a couple. You've got an incredible story. So I'd love for you to share with our audience what made you to decide to take on your mission.
So I grew up in a really happy home on a farm in Alberta, Canada, and I loved my life until at 16 years old, my dad was ripped out of our lives suddenly when he died of a heart attack. And it was in that moment that I made a decision that the universe didn't have my back, that all men would abandon me, and that there was no point in taking any responsibility for my life experience. And so you name a bad decision, from that point on, Cindy made it. And 20 years of debauchery, cocaine addiction, alcoholism, abusive relationships, traveling to countries with no safety net whatsoever, and really just not caring about my life experience. And yet in all of that, I was constantly seeking. I was always seeking the answer to something, but I didn't actually know what the question was until later. So I've read the Bible front to back. I've read the Quran front to back. I've read the dictionary front to back. I've read the encyclopedias A to E, just seeking the answers. And was not, because I didn't know what I was looking for, it was really hard to find the answers. But what I really came to understand is that I was seeking who I am at the core. And in 2016, I met a woman at a live networking event who was very spiritual. And I had grew up in a scientific background, religious, but not spiritual. And I thought, I don't know about this woo-woo crap. I don't know how I feel about this. But she had a way of bridging the gap between science and spirituality. And the way that she explained things to me blew my mind. So I started following her. And then in 2018, I started working with her, and she was teaching numerology. She was also teaching a course called Mastering the Brain Game, which is basically the law of divine timing. And I took both of those things right at the very beginning of working with her. So I received my first numerology reading, and I took the course Mastering the Brain Game, and everything changed in my life. All of a sudden, I could see myself without all of the programming and the societal conditioning and all of the things that happened when my dad passed away. And it was like my whole life was laid bare on the ground, on the bathroom floor, actually. And from there, I started rebuilding my life. I started seeing that I was capable of teaching this work as well. And I was capable of helping people find who they are. And so I started rebuilding my own value, my own sense of worth, to believe that I could actually have something to say in the world. And one of the things in my numerology was, you're a speaker. And I was working as a virtual assistant behind the scenes, not speaking and not expressing and not communicating. So I took that as a personal challenge and I started doing Facebook Lives. And I did a Facebook Live every single weekday for 4 years straight. I didn't start off good at video. It was a skill that I learned because I was committed to doing it. And now you put a video camera in front of my face, I'm like, hey. But really,
That's it.
what it comes down to now is this: my mission is to help people understand who they are, what they want, and why they want it, and how to get it. And that comes from understanding divine timing, and numerology is a great tool to get there.
Wow. So there's lots to pick apart in there, but one of the first things that really hits me, and I think that a lot of people can relate to, or maybe awaken up to, is that there can be just one incident in life that can turn, like when you talk about, your experience as a child and you were clearly making the right decisions, to having something and then your perception or your belief around that incident. And that is so powerful. And it took you in a direction that some people would say was maybe, like you said, not making the best decisions. But we'll just put that lightly, shall we?
Right.
We'll just like, that chapter is like, not making the right decisions. And I'm sure that you've had a lot of really great enlightened lessons from the wrong decision, as we all do. But I mean, I think it's really worth stopping and taking a breath and taking note that sometimes when you see people off in the trajectory of their pain, or their perception of pain, that sometimes they're just living out something that is can really actually be just the result of one incident. And sometimes it can take a long time to get back around to self. And then another thing that hits me is that I don't think there isn't anyone that I haven't talked to that's been on the planet for a little while that says that there was someone they met, or a book that fell off a shelf, or a flyer that they saw. For me, it was a flyer that I saw, or someone said something. I mean, one time I was like taking a taxi in Ireland, a very long trip, and this taxi driver just asked me a question, and I answered him, and I was like, I think I've spent 2 years in therapy trying to find out the answer. And he just threw it at me like, it is what it is.
Right.
Those kind of things, right? You're like, I guess I can let that one go now. But so you talk about that. So you've kind of been there. And I think that it's that those people show up. I mean, there's always something about them, when the teacher's ready, the student will appear. And when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. And now that you are in position of teacher, you probably get that. Now, there's a couple of things that you said that really I want to highlight, because it's not something that people hear a lot of. Now, there's a lot of people that are sharing their wisdom, training and coaching and mastermind is at an all-time high, because people, I believe, are searching. We've had a experience in this last few years that's required people to take maybe a different look at how things are playing out in their life, and they're going for that place of elevation. I mean, I gotta say, it's pretty exciting. I'm seeing people wanting better in their business and better in their relationships and a better life altogether, and they're just looking for that higher state of more with a deeper sense of appreciation. But you call yourself something that's quite unique. So take me around to how you came to calling yourself, is it a divine
Timing.
divine timing? So talk a little bit about the power of divine timing.
Yeah, so I think it starts with understanding what divine timing is, because so many of us, especially in the spiritual realm, we've got this concept of divine timing, and we say the words, all in divine timing, but we don't really understand what that means. So there is actually 6 stages to divine timing that we work with. And I use this when I teach Mastering the Brain Game, but I use this in all of my work. Is that first and foremost, when we want to change something in our life, we have an awareness. Step number 1, awareness. We've got this awareness that I don't like that, or I want more of that. And so it stirs things up in our curiosity. And what human beings love to do is go from awareness to action. And we're trying to shortcut the divine timing cycle. And then things don't work out. And we go, oh, well, God must have not wanted me to have that experience. And I'm going to call no on that.
Oh, look at your language. So kind.
Censoring, I know. So we have an awareness, and I'm going to use an example of saying I have an awareness that I want to make a certain amount of money so that I'm financially stable and I can do what I want. I can experience what I want. So I want to make $10,000 a month. Okay, there's your awareness. But what we try to skip over is the acceptance and self-responsibility piece. So step 2 of divine timing is acceptance. Number 1, accepting that decisions you've made in the past have not led you to $10,000 a month. So there's some forgiveness work that needs to be done. Our world tells us that we must just express gratitude for all things, but gratitude in that stage is really just a band-aid. Forgiveness is what allows us to restore the giving and receiving with life. So when we accept and forgive ourselves for decisions we made and the cocaine that we snorted up our nose and all of those pieces, then we can start to move forward. So there's that piece of acceptance, but then there's also the acceptance of I can earn $10,000 a month. Not I'm going to go take action and make a list of 52 million things to do. We need to feel what it feels like in the body to be earning a consistent $10,000 a month. And that's what humans like to skip over because us humans don't like to feel our feelings. So feeling the feelings, very important. And then self-responsibility, which most of us humans like to skip over as well, because we want somebody else to do it for us. You know,
Right.
go sign up for that course. It's going to tell us how to be magical on Instagram, or hire that coach who's going to tell us exactly what to do, when really it's about deciding. It's about making the decision. Yes, I can think it. Yes, I can feel it. And now I choose to have it. And in that decision opens up step 4, which is activation. Activation is coming into the place of becoming the person who earns $10,000 a month. It's about inspired action, not the 52 million things to do that every entrepreneur has. It's about really allowing space for inspiration, of understanding who you are, what your top values are, and taking action from that place based on your intention and the feeling state of what it is that you want. So the feeling state of that $10,000, you don't just feel it once, you feel it every day, all day long. And that's what drives your actions forward, which then leads into the magical place that all humans want to be in, which is momentum, where all of a sudden the things start landing and the money's flowing in and the clients are flowing in and, oh my goodness, and here's what happens. It's too good. I can't do this. No breaks. And people stop. So it's the old story of you're 3 feet from gold, of keep going. Even when it's busy and you forgot to shower and you forgot to eat breakfast and all these things, and there's note pieces all over your table, just keep going. Just keep doing the things, which then leads you into stage 6 of divine timing, which is transmutation. You have now become the person who earns $10,000 a month. But it's not complete at that point. You take a moment, you celebrate, you're like, wow, there's $10,000 in my bank account. Yes. And then you move back into awareness. What's next? Now that I have become this person, what do I want now? And you go around and around and around the divine timing cycle. So one of the key things that I do is I listen to people's language and the words that they're speaking to me, and I can tell you exactly what time it is in your personal cycle. So when you know what time it is, then you know what actions to be taking in that moment.
Right, because people are somewhere in that cycle. So they could
Oh,
have done some work, or they're at the beginning, or they're close to the end, and or they've made a certain way and then they're starting some sabotage stuff, like you said, like it's getting too busy. I love how you said that, push through. I
yeah.
remember talking to I remember talking to many people many times about used to be able to eat off my bathroom floor. Well,
Not so much
not
anymore.
after I became an entrepreneur. Like, I wouldn't suggest that. You know what I mean? It's like, I can let that go another couple of days. And then of course, the working through the sabotage of it as well, right? Sabotage seems to be something that comes up because it can be an unknown feeling. When you talk about that feeling, it's funny that you say talking about it every day, because when you talk about that now, when you say, so do you ask people to do it through meditation? Like how So for those that are out there that are
Mhm.
very linear, and
Mhm.
they're like, okay, I'm going to do this because that's what business, there's business plans, there's strategy, there's structure, there's reverse engineering. And I'm all a big believer in all of that. I think there needs to be an interrelationship.
Yeah.
So what does, when someone, I could hear it out there. Yeah, I can always hear questions, you get that,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
So what does feeling every day look like? Like, how does someone feel like $10,000 or $20,000? Like, how do they feel that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this comes from my study of universal law and understanding the quantum field in a deep way. I bridge that science and the spirituality all the time. So oftentimes I hear people say, well, if the universe wants me to have $10,000 a month, then I will have it. And it really comes down to the place of believing in your body, in every cell of your body, that you are worth $10,000 a month or whatever figure that wants to be, right? Or you are worth the relationship that you want or the experience that you want to have. You're worth that trip to Paris, whatever it might be, right? So the feeling state of it, you can get there from any direction. And every human's different. So I don't subscribe, you need to meditate this way for 4 hours on the top of the mountain every single day. Don't do that. We don't have time for that.
You got stuff to
Right?
do.
So one of the things that I love to do is we all know we have a sensation of what these experiences feel like because we wouldn't be able to feel it if or think about it if we didn't have an idea of what it feels like, right?
Right.
So one of the things I teach is how to choose your emotional state. So if you're in that nervous system fight flight response, oh my god, my life is falling apart, if you were to sit for a moment and just acknowledge that feeling state of I'm freaking out and then decide, self-responsibility, to feel something different. I'm going to choose to feel love in this moment. All you need to do is remember the last time you felt love. And instantly your body responds. You can feel it in your heart, or sometimes you feel it in your toe. You feel it somewhere in your body. And then the purpose here is to continue to focus on that emotion until it starts to build momentum in your body. So it's not a second of, oh yeah, there's the love, and then go on doing your stuff. It's feel the love and then let the love expand and let it expand and let it expand. And maybe that works in meditation. Maybe that works through journaling. Maybe that works through staring at the sunset. Maybe it works by going and sitting in the trees. Maybe it works through verbal dialogue and speaking about it with a dear trusted friend or a coach. There's lots of different ways to get there, but it is so important to feel it.
That's so important. I got to, hats off to you and thank you so much for bringing that up because many times when we think about, our podcast is a lot about building your career, becoming the singer you want to be or the radio host or the TV host. And let's face it, I attract a pretty holistic crew. So, but there's both sides, right? There's I used to teach marketing for the holistic practitioner because holistic practitioners, they love to give it away and, we're on that side and, there's some of us like me and you were like we're on both sides
Yeah.
and right, we're like okay, but we forget about the expansion of feeling. We forget about aligning those two. It tends to be either or.
Yeah.
I'm either meditating or I'm strategizing. I'm either one or the other, but to actually recognize that you could have that feeling expand it while you're doing your structural work, while you're writing your list out, you can be in that sense of feeling. I think that's just a really great place to bring it home to.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that because, as I'm sitting at my computer doing the 52 million things on my to-do list, I am also constantly checking in with how I'm feeling. Because if I'm doing something from a state of what I call Tyrannosaurus Rex brain, then I'm also getting the same results, right? I'm taking action out of a place of fear rather than love. And so
Mm-hmm.
I get the same results. I get fearful results. I get clients who, oh, I can't afford that, or I got to talk to my husband, or I don't know if this is a fit for me. Whereas if I'm taking the actions from a place of love, and it only takes a second for you to tell which feeling state you're in, then you're going to get results that match that. That's just simply how the universe works. So I
Mm-hmm.
have a post-it note on my computer. It has been there since 2018. How are you feeling? And
Yeah.
that guides everything.
I always say that if you came into my office, it looks like a Tony Robbins garage sale, right? Because there's stickers and there's so many like I'll find something and I'll write it down and I'm like, I got to try to look at this. And, when it's really serious, like super serious and I need to really shake my head out, it's red lipstick on the bathroom mirror.
Mhm.
It's just rewriting things over and over again. But, let's divert a little bit. That was there's lots for people to pick apart, and I'm wanting people to digest and land how impactful that is. Let's talk about your role of numerology, because I know that one lends into the other and that you use both when you're working with people. So maybe explain a little bit what numerology is and how can that bring about better business?
Yeah, so numerology for me was an eye opener because it was my first real dive into what I called woo woo at the time. And now
Hmm.
I see numerology as the science of the universe. It's literally a cheat code for your life. It tells you what your personality is like. It is the most accurate personality assessment I've ever seen. And trust me, I've done them all. And it's the most easy to remember. I think that's one of the key things, things like the Myers-Briggs. I've done it, but I don't remember my letters. Like I have no idea. I don't know what color I am. I don't know any of those things,
Yeah.
but I know my numbers, right? And numbers are easy to remember. And there's so many times in numerology where we, even as us as numerologists, we say, you can't make this up, right? And so it shows you your personality. But the other piece of numerology that I do comes from ancient Egypt, and there's only 1,000 of us on the planet that do it. And it works with divine timing. So there are certain stages of our lives that we go through where we're more in the reflective stage, or we're more in awareness, we're more in that place of taking responsibility. And when you can understand that and understand what's influencing you in those places, it gets a lot easier to live your life. And it opens up all of the possibilities that are available to us. So for me, the first time I saw my numerology, I was like, whoa, my whole life, I have wanted to be a speaker. My whole life, since I was 3 years old. But I shut it down in all of those poor decisions and that lack of value that I held for myself, that I couldn't do that. I'm not capable. I don't have anything to say, et cetera, et cetera. And I saw my numbers and I saw the possibility. Now, it wasn't all of a sudden that I just went, wee, and went and did it. I had to choose, because free will, it still exists, right? But it gave me the awareness that this is something I could do. And then I started using some strategy and I worked with different coaches to help me get there. But it was all based on that decision of, I want to be a speaker. So whatever it is in your entrepreneurial life, whatever, or in your relationship, or just your life, because it's all just life,
Hmm.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Whatever it is you want to experience, when you have somebody look into your chart, they can tell you where you're at timing wise. They can tell you what's possible, what's available to you, and what you might want to choose to look for in support from other people based on missing numbers.
Right. And it reminds me of okay, so when I got shared with that I'm a number 5.
Yeah.
And I've had 5 described to me a couple of different ways. For me, it was a sense of relief,
Yeah.
because that part, so just so you guys know, one person explained the number 5 to me as someone who stands at the circus and spins plates, and the person that can spin a multitude of plates, right?
Yeah.
And when they said that, I was like, oh my gosh, I so relate to that. Anyone that knows me, I'm sure Dorothea right now is shaking her head, is that I have the ability. I didn't have to try. I didn't have to learn it. I just have the ability. And sometimes I don't even want the ability, but to be able to spin multiple plates at once. And, growing up, people like, you should just focus on one thing. You should focus on one thing. And I was like, you're almost asking me to cut off my arm, because I don't know how to not do this. Right. And so there was a couple of times, just like the leadership, or the other number that we talked about, just having those numbers, the defining of those numbers gave me a great sense of relief, because it is really who I am innately.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
permission slip
choose,
to be you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's really relieving and understanding. And I believe all of that is confirming and helpful, right? It's
Yes.
helpful. So, like you said, the parts that you don't maybe naturally have. I mean, we all have gifts, and then there's other areas where we can choose to either go and try to capture them or hire someone who
Yeah.
has captured them. Excuse me, I'm looking for a 4 in your resume. If you could just please, I'm looking for a 4,
I'm
you
a
know?
4.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Oh, that's awesome. Apparently me and Cindy are going to be hanging
Yeah.
out a lot more. Okay. So, I mean, this is really an incredible piece in terms of many people look at their businesses in different ways. And I remember and we become so much more open. Like, people come for intuitive sessions around their business. It used to be around their relationship or finances. And don't you find that so many more people are coming for intuitive services around their business? I remember when, a couple of colleagues of mine were like, I heard that the president of the United States was actually using uh, someone who did their charts, like read their
Mhm.
astrological charts. And I'm like, it's a science. Like,
It
it
is.
is a science. Math is science. Science is science. Metaphysics, physics
It's
of the
science.
people like, oh, meta, that's cool. Metaverse, right? Yeah. There's been metaverse around for a long time, people. It's called metaphysics.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's very much in nature and how we can make decisions around our business
Yes.
playing in both worlds, right? Playing in
Yeah.
both worlds.
I love that you bring that up because that's actually something that I've been exploring over the last year is especially with business partnership because you've got
Hmm.
two humans coming together with different perspectives and different upbringings. And so what I do is I actually look at the two individual charts and compare them one on top of the other to see where there might be potential pitfalls in the partnership, where there might be potential growth available in that partnership, and where the success path is for that business partnership. So it's not, I'm not never going to say, no, don't partner with that person, but it allows you to say, oh, okay, I can see where this might be a challenge. So maybe we need to have conversation about this. And it opens up so much possibility in business partnership. I also look at the dates of business conception. So,
Hmm.
the day a corporation was in registered with the government, I'll look at that date and see what's available for your business. This works in so many different levels. There's so many rabbit holes. I love rabbit holes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, let's change it a little bit. Let's change our conversation. And so you decided to, so how long have you so you had this time life where things were kind of interesting,
Yeah.
and then you found, your miracle moment or, the magic, and you've been doing this for a while.
Mhm.
How long have you been in business doing this kind of work?
I started my business as a virtual assistant in 2016, and
Yeah.
I changed everything in 2018. So it's been, I think, what the math, 6 years at the time of
Yeah.
the recording.
Well, I know the time's been kind of a little interesting, hasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I always like to ask these questions that prompt people. So for someone that does the kind of work that do you do it like, how do you do it? Like you talk like you speak? Do you like what kind of platforms do you bring to your business?
Yeah, so I call myself a conscious channel. I write things that don't feel like they come from me. And so with that, I write social media posts that I just are inspired every day. And it comes out through the numbers. I'm looking at the numbers and then that information comes through. I'm also a speaker. I claim that now. And I also teach a course called Mastering the Brain Game. I also offer readings. So I prefer to work with people long term because that's where the transformation occurs. It's really challenging for me to do a one-off reading and then send you on your way. You're going to stick it in the drawer, never look at it again, and never actually get what you want out of life. So I work with people for 6 months to a year to help them really tap into their timing. I'm really expanding my visibility. I'm speaking in Vegas here in a couple of weeks and going out there, and I'm looking for live speaking events to go and share this message in a big way with the world. I think the world is ready for understanding of divine timing.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So, from a business perspective, we're going to kind of wrap up a little bit here, but just from a business perspective, if you were to give advice to anyone that was deciding to go into business for themselves, or, like how you went from one world to another and you were a virtual assistant to taking it off, like what are some of the things that you would share with people that have been really helpful for you to just keep your mission going? Like, how
Mm,
do you keep your mission going, right? I mean, yes, you're intuitive and yes, you're this, but there's who we are and what we need, but then we also need, right? We also have our places. So what keeps you going?
yeah. So for me, it's three things. Number one, always exploring who I am. Always. So just because I've gotten a numerology report doesn't mean I'm not every single day being very curious about who I am and the patterns that I have and the things I think and the feelings that I have. I'm constantly exploring that. So number one, know who you are and explore it every day. You're never going to fully know who you are. That's not possible. Number two, know what you want. So when I started my business, I'm going to tell you right now, don't do what I did, because I started my business to make money.
Yeah.
Now, you make money in business. That's the whole purpose of a business. But when it's a mission-based business, it ain't about the money. So don't start a business because you're desperate for money, because that's what I did and it didn't work. So you need to know what you want. And for me, when I come to that place now, I know that what I want is impact. I want simplicity. I want to change the wealth story of the world. And even just saying those words out loud, my whole body just lit up and got on fire. My whole body's covered in goosebumps. And now I know why I want what I want. So number one, know who you are. Number two, know what you want. Not based on what your parents think you should want or what your spouse thinks you should want or what society thinks you should want, but really at the core of who you are, what do you want? And then why? That feeling state, and feel that feeling all day, every day, as much as you possibly can. Because to be honest, that feeling state that you're chasing, you can feel it right here, right now. And the more you feel it, the more you just start seeing those results come in through the world. So before you start a business, know who you are, what you want, why you want it. Take action from there.
And for those of you that did what I did in my first, I think, 4 businesses, and what Cindy's done in hers, and I had a great idea and I thought I'd run with it. And what's a spreadsheet? No. So, and I'm doing it completely opposite. I'm taking Cindy's advice. I'm doing a completely opposite, raising with my son and his business. And we've got a business plan and all sorts of things. And it's really interesting what we learn as we get on. But I think at the true nature of most philosophers or people that you study, or even if it's Simon Sinek all the way to Oprah, it's really about like getting clarity, right? Clarity about who you are. And that starts to come, and really having that why. So I think maybe for yourself and maybe for me, the drive to have my why be actualized overrode my ignorance of things like numbers or marketing or whatever it was that I should have been doing at the time. It overrode that because my drive of my why was so powerful that it worked, right? But I think you need to I would touche on those. Okay, look, now most of my audience knows, and I know because we have a lot of listeners and a lot of viewers that tap into us from Ireland. And I'm sure it's because everyone knows that there's an incredible event coming up called They Did It Tour, where myself and my crazy colleague are walking 8 marathons and 8.5 marathons in 8 days across Ireland in August 2023. And we're super excited. And you guys, if you could just go to theydidittour.ca, and it's going to tell you where you can support. If you're a business and you want us to endorse you, then call us. We've got some super creative ways that we're doing that for people. It's a very high profile, high exposure event. I was literally on a call last night with Crom Castle. I mean, how do the things happen, right? That's another story. We're not going to go there. But the reason why I'm leading in with this is because, Cindy, I think you know that I kind of like music. And I think, it's a big part of what we're doing right now. And, even if I wasn't walking across, I'd ask you this question, but I got to ask you. Mm-hmm. And then after you answer this question, you can please tell people where to reach you, find you, what have you. And I'd love for you to be a part of the big 262. If you want to speak on stage, I got a stage for you that we need to talk about, the 262, which we'll tap onto in a minute. But I want to get to this question. So you're on your way to a desert island. And I think, doing what you do for a living, you'd probably find that just bliss, right? Some people might panic, but you'd find the bliss in it. And it's just you and you. And you're packing your little suitcase, you get one. And in there's room for one album. So what album would you take with you on this desert island? And you just couldn't imagine not listening it to for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Lzzy, Hale, I Am the Fire.
Okay.
That song changed my life.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta listen to that. I gotta listen to that. So that is your song. Okay. Please tell people about where they can reach you.
Yeah, my website's the easiest place to find all of the other places I'm in. So cindyvanarnam.com. Super easy to find.
Okay, and we are going to have that in the show notes for those of you that are driving and listening and aren't able to write that down. Go to her website. She has absolutely everything there. And if you are going to be in a location where she is, go listen to this woman, because I think for those that are listening and not viewing, you're not seeing the dynamic. You're probably hearing the dynamic, but this woman's very dynamic. I could see how she could power out a stage. And that being said, you guys keep your eyes and ears open. We have now opened doors for the largest, biggest author and speakership event that we know of. It's a 10-week event to launch off International Women's Day with a book of mission accepted 262 women, entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs, creatives, and media, rock legacy and tell all. It will include a 8-week summit that'll take us to another book launch right before Mother's Day, and we will have 75 incredible speakers. And it is going to be, you are going to be able to see it from all over the world. And it is also going to be streamed on Apple and Amazon. It's a big, big media party, and we want you there. So if you want to be part of it, you know how to reach me. I can't get any easier for you. It's deb@debdrummond.com. What's my website? debdrummond.com. You want to be on the show and you want to sit where Cindy is, you know where to reach us. And so if you want to come to the event, if you want to be at the event, if you want to be in the book, if you want to be on the stage, honestly, I know this is the first time we're announcing it this large and this live. So I know that I'm going to get some emails, and that's why I love you guys the most, because you are super active. So please do what you do. Send, when you hear this, when you hear Cindy's presentation or interview today, send it out to whomever popped into your mind, because that's the power of when people do work like Cindy does. Like when you're listening, did someone come to mind? They need to hear what she has to say. So please share it. Love you. You're the best audience ever. Cindy, thank you so much for taking some time out. We just know you're going to rock Vegas. It's not going to be the same. And I'm sure we're going to be talking. And thank you guys. You're an awesome audience. And we know we will be seeing you again. So until then, be groovy.
Thank you.